Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar of the UN Generative AI Practice Group today. My name is Johanna. I'm really excited to see so many of you. Thanks for making the time. For those of you who are new to the Generative AI Practice Group, this group aims to provide a space for joint learning and exchange on this fast-evolving topic in the UN system. We try to offer regular knowledge sharing sessions. We try to facilitate dedicated exchange among more technically minded colleagues and connect those with questions to colleagues who might have the answers. And the group is led by my colleague Fiona, who also leads the UN Data Strategy community, and myself, Johanna, from the UN Innovation Network. And we're really excited about this session today, because if there's one thing that we love even more than showing the good work that is being done in the UN system, it's showcasing the good interagency work that is being done. And UNify HR, what we're going to learn about today, is such a great example of this, both in terms of audience and in terms of development. I believe several entities have come together to collaborate to develop and then deploy this tool, and it's an advanced generative AI tool to streamline human resource operations and policy management. So very excited to learn more about that, and I'm happy to introduce you to our presenters for the day, the masterminds behind UNify HR. We'll hear initially from Katy Bennett, she's the Director of HR in UNHCR, and then we'll hear from Claudie Barrett, Head of HR Operations, also at UNHCR. And we may also hear from colleagues in UNICC who have been supporting and leading the technical implementation of this tool. Before I hand over to you, Katy, just one last comment that we will have a presentation up front, and then we'll give you plenty of time to ask questions. If you have any, please put them at the bottom of your screen in the Q&A box. We're not using the chat for Q&A, we're using this Q&A box. You can upvote questions that you find interesting. If you include your name, we're happy to give you the floor later so that you can ask your question yourself. And because it tends to be a very popular one, we are going to make this webinar available afterwards. We will share the slides and any resources shared. So answering that question already. And with that, Katy, thank you so much for making the time. We're really happy to have you here. Handing over to you for some context and background on this.
Thank you, Johanna, and I'm excitedly watching the numbers rise on participants. Clearly, GenAI and the future that the UN can play on this important topic is a hot one. So we are delighted to be here. My name is Katy Bennett-Sattler. I'm the HR Director at UNHCR, and I'm here to talk to you about UNify HR and share a little bit about the story how HR of all functional areas came to take a big leap forward when it comes to the use of GenAI. And let me take you back for a second, and Claudia is going to share a lot more details with you. But in HR, we all share in the UN system, we all share the same staff rules, but we do have different policies across the organizations. And if it's something our colleagues like to do is compare and say, over there, they're doing this, over there, they're doing this. Why do we not have that? And so our colleagues in HR policy tend to try and work together to try and align, to try and learn from each other. And it was really that community of HR practitioners and the policy officers that came together in the CEB context to say, you know, let's create a SharePoint a couple of years ago. Let's start sharing more and more. And then through the passionate work of Claudie, who you will meet in a minute as she presents, the idea of actually amplifying the rich information we had using GenAI chatbot, which is UNify HR. And that's how that was born, out of the passion of one individual who said, I think we can do better, and then enlisted several other agencies to create a chatbot that helps HR professionals align and really look at, you know, what are we doing, not just in our own organization, but across the policies. And you'll see what UNify is able to do in a minute, but also to help us free up time so that we can provide the most hands-on time with the colleagues where it matters the most, and freeing up time from the standard HR policy advice or guidance that sometimes seems to be more time consuming. So allowing for consistency, but also allowing
it's
us
40
to...
hours. Even this, we go to 40 hours.
Sorry, there's somebody who... Thank you. Please mute yourself if you're on the call. And to really allow us to be more efficient, because in today's world, we need to do more with less. And I think that's a push across the entire system. And for HR, taking the time out of the routine tasks, including searching through documents and crafting the perfect response. UNify HR as a chatbot has been able to really create that. And it's been fascinating to follow this journey. And I'm in the enviable position of being a sponsor for a project that pretty much self-generated once we were able to say, here's a good idea. The amount of agencies that joined was very quick. We're about 13 today. And at UNHCR, we have also been in the process of parallel development in this great partnership with UNICC to see how we can continue to grow this. And you're going to see in Chloe's presentation just what happens when you combine passion with knowledge and a group of dedicated individuals that really want to make a difference. That is really UNify HR. And I have to say this, I'm really proud that this is happening in the HR space, because we're not always known for being the most innovative or the most forward thinking when it comes to technology. At UNHCR, technology is one of the 3 pillars of our HR strategy. And UNify and our own version, People Chat, are one big part of how we see huge efficiency gains, but also aligning us in terms of how we provide the best possible advice for colleagues. And that's really what this is about, to give the best possible employee experience using technology whilst also strengthening our own community of users. So I'm not going to say much more other than to say how proud I am to have Claudia on my team, because she is really the passionate soul that has been driving this forward. I hope to stay as long as I can. I unfortunately have to run before the end of the call, but I'm going to hang around and see all your comments and questions. And again, very grateful that we get a chance to share our story about UNify HR, and also, of course, showcase the partnership in which this was born together with UNICC. Over to you, Claudia.
Yes, thank you, Katie, and thank you for the support as well during the journey on this. So yes, I'm very pleased to present this project, and we look forward to the opportunity to discuss with you all what it means, the use of generative AI in the UN system. I think you see my slide, right?
Yes, we see them.
Yeah, okay. So I will just, before I show you the tool, I will just explain a little bit more how we have developed it in partnership with many others. And then I will show a quick video of the tool. And if you want, we could also do another demo. So basically, the vision that also, which Katie explained, is that we developed an interagency chatbot, which is the first project on generative AI in the UN system. And the goal was to enhance the collaboration on generative AI, and also to use it for HR purposes, as Katie explained, and to drive innovation across the UN system. So with this tool, we are reducing the costs because it's one chatbot shared across 13 UN organizations. So the infrastructure is shared, all of the costs are shared, but also, most importantly, we save time for the users, for all of the HR colleagues who are using this tool. So now we have between 10 to 15 users in each organization that are using it very regularly. So it's a centralized HR knowledge base for the organization. Everything is in one platform. And we have built it in a way that it's sustainable and it's adaptable for the UN system. So basically, it can be used for other cases and other network, or it could be extended beyond the actual clients of the tool. So it's a solution which is based on OpenAI, Azure OpenAI solution. So we are using ChatGPT. It's GPT-4o now, and it's integrated with Azure. So we use Azure basically to index the document and to search the documents. So this is how we have built it, and we are using only one data source. It's the SharePoint document library that is shared across the UN system, which we developed with the CEB, as Cathy explained. So all of the policies of all of the organizations are into this SharePoint site, and then we index it with Azure. So that's on the technical side. So why we took this this solution with Azure OpenAI is that it's very easy to manage because it's linked to Microsoft solution, SharePoint. So everything is in one place. It's kind of easy in terms of management. And the cost was also quite reasonable in terms of licenses, and the ChatGPT 4o is less costly now than other models. But also in terms of data protection, we felt that it was giving us the highest security because our policies are not shared externally with the whole world. So the HR policies are usually reserved to staff of organization, and we wanted to make sure that this information will not be used externally. And we had all of the guarantees with Azure OpenAI. Now I will just show you a quick demo of UNify. Okay.
Introducing UNify HR, an innovative HR chatbot powered by generative AI technology. The UNify chatbot allows HR colleagues to compare HR policies across 13 UN organizations in seconds. With the conversational AI, staff can now get a quick answer to HR policy-related questions without searching all relevant documents. In addition, UNify allows colleagues to create content, such as summaries, training material, translation, and responds to emails. The chatbot is taking one step further the interagency repository of HR policies, which was developed by UNHCR in collaboration with the CEB Secretariat for 38 UN organizations in the UN system. This repository contains regulations, rules, and HR policies of UN organizations, and the documents of the 13 participatory organizations serve as the main data set of the chatbot. The chatbot allows users to ask general HR questions. For example, how home leave is accumulated for temporary appointment. Users simply type the question, select the name of the relevant organization via filter, and UNify provides a relevant response. The chatbot scans hundreds of HR policy documents in seconds, selects the most relevant ones, retrieves the suitable information, and generates a comprehensive answer. The bot can also translate answers in other languages. Every answer generated by the bot comes with a list of documents that are relevant to the question asked, and checking these documents is only one click away. This feature also allows users to use the chatbot as a search engine to quickly retrieve the staff rule or the reference they are looking for. The filter option allows HR colleagues to create quickly content on specific topics. For example, the chatbot can help them respond to emails. They can simply paste the received question into the chat, and the chatbot will generate a professional response. Users can also use the compare feature if they want to benchmark up to 3 UN organizations. For example, users could ask, can a staff accept a gift from a beneficiary in exchange of services provided? UNify then provides a summary of the similarities and differences between UN organizations' policies on this topic. UNify is more than an innovative technological tool. It is an example of what can be achieved when UN agencies come together around a common goal. The proof of concept for UNify HR was fully funded and developed by UNHCR in 2023. After a pilot, UNHCR partnered with UNICC to develop the proof of concept into a fully operational tool for the UN system. The 13 participating organizations shared ideas along the development cycle and contributed actively to joint testing. This collaboration sets the stage for future AI-driven solutions that support the UN's mission.
Okay, so let me just go back to the slide. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so I just would like to explain a little bit, what the feedback we got from organizations. So the 13 participants, they have already confirmed that this solution has reduced their workload, has improved their response time, and has helped them to take decisions on policy issues, as was mentioned in the video. So we are using it to respond to emails, to answer queries. We also use it as a kind of super Google just to find the relevant paragraph of the policy easily. So we are using it on daily basis for different cases. Just to explain how we developed it. So first of all, UNHCR developed it, and I have to thank my colleagues from DIST at UNHCR. Some of them are on this call, so Mark Shitek and Caroline Oleniuk. We have developed the proof of concept in April 2023. And then we presented it at the HR network and the HR policy community in spring of 2023. We got a lot of interest and we started a pilot with 8 UN organizations in June. And this is where UNHCR developed the filter and compare feature, which you saw in the video. We got positive feedback from organization, and therefore the demo and the proof of concept were presented again to the HR network and the HR policy community in October and November of 2023. And this is when we got 13 organizations that were interested to join the project. So at that point, UNHCR shared it with UNSCC because UNSCC has expertise to serve the UN organization and was best placed to take this to the next level. And the 13 organizations signed a contract with UNSCC in December. So this is the list of organizations that are part of the project now. Other organizations joined for 2025, but this is the current list. And the way we work this year is that we share the cost equally, and everybody had a number of focal points who contributed in to test the feature and to develop the solution further. Yeah, so we have some organizations joining next year. So what happened in 2024 with UNICC is that, first of all, at the beginning of the project, so we worked on the interface of UNify. We selected the features we wanted to see. We indexed all of the documents of organization. And then between March and August, basically, we worked on the accuracy of UNify to make sure we get the best result. And we got, UNICC got the support from Microsoft also in this. Next slide, I will explain a bit more on how we worked on the accuracy, but the accuracy improved so much that we were able to launch UNify on the 8th of October of this year because organizations were satisfied with the threshold that we had reached. So this is just to show you in terms of accuracy where we started here. Among the 13 organizations, we were about 50% accuracy. And this was based on about 20 to 30 questions per organization, so covering a wide range of HR topics. Each organization had these questions and perfect answers that they were expecting. And then we were rating whether the answer from the bot was accurate or not, and whether the answer was also consistent or not. If we asked 10 times the same question, whether we got 10 times the same answer. And then you can see that between March and August, we significantly improved with the accuracy. So, and now we are about to depending on organization, between 70 and 85% of accuracy over the model questions. And just to flag that this is, so the testing was done by HR policy experts. People who have like at least 5 years of experience in HR, and on a total of more than 300 questions. So this is what we achieved in terms of accuracy, and this is when we went live. So in total, we have close to 1,000 documents indexed by the bot, and as Cathy explained, these are mostly the staff regulations and rules of organizations, policies on every topic, like home leave, parental leave, etc., entitlements, and then administrative instructions, and in some cases some guidelines as well in HR. So we have close to 130 users at the moment, and who all provided positive feedback, and this is when we went live. Now, in terms of our plan for 2025, we want to expand it further, and there we have different options. So some organizations, they want to continue to make it available only to their HR policy officer to compare and benchmark across organizations to help them with their daily tasks. Other organizations, they want to expand it to all of their HR. So colleagues who are responding to queries for all staff members, etc., who are doing case management. And other organizations, they want to make it available to all staff. Therefore, we are, UNICC prepared different options for organizations, and we are looking at how we can make this work next year. So basically, one of the options for organization is to continue with the solution as is, and another option is to improve the compare feature, which is comparing policies across organizations. At the moment, we can only compare 3 organizations at a time, but we want to maybe increase this number and improve the level of benchmarking. And another option is to create a different user access. So for example, if you connect as a staff member, you will just see the policies of your organization and you can ask only questions about your organization. But if you connect as an HR policy officer, then you will see both options, the filter and compare. So UNICC has worked on this 2 options, and this is what we are discussing with organization for next year. I just wanted to let you know also that UNHCR developed, launched a chatbot for all staff at UNHCR on 11th of September this year. So it's the same concept as UNify. It was built in the same way. It was the same proof of concept developed with my colleagues in DIST. And we have launched it to all staff at UNHCR in September. So UNHCR has about 20,000 staff members. I'm just mentioning this because originally when we launched it, we didn't know really what to expect from staff, but it was very well received. So our lessons learned from this is that staff, they are using it as a tool that is complementary to the intranet. So when sometimes they go to the intranet to find some information, sometimes they use the chatbot. So it's another way to access the information, and where it has been really useful is for to access information in different languages, because people chat, the chatbot can provide information in every languages of the staff members. I mean the main languages, but our policies are mostly in English. So it's really a way to help staff to understand our policies and to promote them a very efficient way. There was no conflict. It has not created additional workload for HR in the sense that no staff member asked the chatbot and then asked us to verify the information or anything like that. We have seen that, yeah, it was really another way to access information from staff. And it kind of reduced the level of some questions we were receiving and not creating any inconsistency in the way the information is managed. We have also seen that the adoption is gradual. So we have 20,000 staff members, but we have about 300 staff members every week who are using the tool. So it was not like a massive adoption from the beginning. It's really gradual over time. And we have staff members who are returning every week and others who are using it just once a month to check their entitlement. So in general, it has been a very positive experience to the use of chatbot at UNHCR. So I just wanted to flag this. Now we have a short Menti survey just to know about your experience, if you have built also similar chatbot, And if there is anything you can share from your side, but Joanna can also stop there, and maybe we have an open discussion, and then we can have the survey at the end. So I'm really open to what the group will prefer.
First of all, thank you, Claudie. This was fantastic. I don't think I have ever seen so many questions come in while someone was still speaking. So this clearly speaks to the interest that your project has generated. I'm just trying to copy the code to the Menti. Do you have a link by Menti? So we all might have to do this later. Just for not having access to the link straight away. But there's a bunch of questions for you. We have, like I said, it was over 30 already. And Claudie, the most asked one at this point is, how can we join? So how can my organization become part of this initiative? You had a slide on which organizations are already part. We'll share the slides, so colleagues who want to recap that later can do. But if an organization isn't part of it, how do they become part of it? And Claudie, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yes, so my colleagues from UNICC are also there today. I mean, you can approach me. I can paste my email address in the chat, and they can also do the same. So you can contact us, and then we can explain a little bit more about the cost, and share the document with you and everything. So just to flag that at the moment, this is only for HR, but of course, if organizations want to use it for other network or other cases scenario, we'll be happy to discuss, obviously, how this can be used. So yeah, I will just.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. We'll share your contact details with colleagues together with the recording and the slides afterwards. So if you're interested and would like to know more, feel free to get in touch with Claudie. Claudie, I'll try and go from more general questions to the more technical ones. And one that was asked by our colleague Daniela from IAEA was, oops, sorry, that's not actually the one I wanted. It was one on cost for developing the chatbot. So do you have any insights on how much it costs to develop? And there were linked to that several questions around what were the savings you have realized so far?
Okay, so yeah, the chatbot, so my colleagues from DIST also can elaborate. So in 2023, so for UNify, we have spent, I think, about $80,000 to develop it. There were some support from Microsoft that was given to us, I think also kind of pro bono, but my colleagues can explain this. So this was about the cost for building basically the proof of concept and testing it with the other organization. This was including usage and all of this. So that's everything included, including the licenses and everything. And then for this year, so in total, we had 13 organizations, and each organization contributed 21,500. So in total, it was a bit bad in math, but it was about 250,000, 260,000 for all organizations this year to develop it further, and including the interface and improving the improvement in accuracy. And we had 20,000 that were not spent in usage. So yeah, about 250,000, I would say, for this year in total. So I think it's a reasonable cost, honestly. In terms of savings, we have not calculated it in terms of money, but in terms of time. For HR policy officer, it's a few minutes every day, but we have not again quantified it. But of course, on monthly basis, yes, it does make a difference comparing with the overall cost of the solution. I mean, just to take an example, if I ask a very complex HR question and I get the answer in any language I want in 30 seconds, and on average, this question will take me, maybe half an hour or 45 minutes to draft it and translate it, and just for one question, because the type of questions we get are a bit complex, and when we do the benchmarking, it can take hours to compare policies across organizations. So yeah, but then it's a good point that we need to quantify it a bit better. How much time and money we are saving with this tool?
So a good question and some inspiration. I'm also seeing applause coming from colleagues, so answers very much resonate. I'm also sharing, which I think is now more of a comment from our colleague Stefan from UN office in Vienna, and he's saying you might also want to track the number of requests that you're getting. And he's saying, have you tracked the increased reduction in requests for management evaluation for so it could also be an interesting metric to keep in mind. If you want to comment, feel free. Otherwise, I'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, we are tracking the request. I think UNICT can talk about that, and we can share the statistics. So I mean, since we went live on the 8th of October, I think we have had the 10 users in each organization asking about 100 questions per month, I think, as a minimum. But overall, I don't know exactly, but yeah, this is where we are about. Then I saw Stefan is also asking about the hallucinations. So at the beginning, in 2000, yeah.
Maybe Chloe, just for the not so technical ones, can you explain what that is?
An hallucination?
In this context.
Okay, it's when a tool will provide an information that is not correct. So, we have had some examples in the past where I will ask a question about I don't know, parental leave. And then instead of finding the information from our policies, because it was not existing in our policy framework, then ChatGPT will kind of generate the information from what is available in the private sector and giving us the information of what parental leave is or whatever. So this was the first thing that we tackled, and there were lots of effort on to try to reduce the hallucinations. So we kind of evaluated the scenarios where the evaluation happened. So mostly it was when there was a gap in the policy and the chatbot didn't know the answer, or when the terminology was not understood by the chatbot. So we had to index our terminology and our acronyms and synonyms and stuff like that to reduce it. And really, it was mostly the prompting. And I mean, Shambhavi can talk about this also, how the prompting helped to reduce the hallucination. And basically now the tool, when it's not sure, it's just saying, I don't have this information or whatever. So we were like at zero flexibility because as you know, yes, in HR policy, it's very important that we have the accurate information. So, but Shambhavi, you want to add on this?
Just one extra thing. We additionally tested multiple different use cases of hallucination and responsible AI to ensure that the chatbot is performing as expected and does not hallucinate or provide incorrect answers at all, including even mildly incorrect. So we did all kinds of testing to ensure that we are adopting the best responsible AI practices.
Thank you very much, Shambhavi, for coming in. Please feel free to stay on video and stay with us. Colleagues, I see lots of questions coming in. We'll try to get as many as possible, but I also want to make sure that we give you the chance to ask questions yourself. So I'm going to give you the floor, Daniela from IAEA. We just ask you to be somewhat concise in asking your questions. Daniela, the floor is yours.
Yes, hi. I was wondering how you can keep the repository up to date with the policies, if they are changing or replaced. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, so I mean, we already had a repository that we are keeping updated. So that's the benefit of this project, because we created this, and this was also UNHCR creating it with the CEB Secretariat. So 5 years ago, we created this SharePoint site, and we have 2 or 3 focal points in each UN organization who are HR policy officers. And every time their policy is changing, they go to the SharePoint site, they delete the old version of the policy, and they upload the new version of the policy. Because we are using this SharePoint site for other purposes. And everybody in the UN system is benefiting from it. So it's really being updated. So this is why it was the perfect data source for us, because it's being updated every month by organization.
Okay, thank you.
And Caroline, I saw you came on video. Do you want to comment?
So I was just going to add what we've done with the UN version of this similar bot is we have an automatic update for edits, deletes, changes to that SharePoint library. The bot is automatically updated almost real time with those changes. So I think, Claudia, you're the beneficiary of that, but that's what we put in place when we moved our bots into production. So I think that's the other half of the answer, I think.
Very good. Thank you very much. Again, feel free to stay on video if you like and come in future. Let's see. So there's a bunch of similar questions, but we have the top rated one is from a colleague who preferred not to give their name. And the colleague is wondering if the answer is wrong and employees make a decision that is contested later, how do you adjust legal or dispute, I guess, resolution guidelines based on that?
Yeah, so I have to be honest that this was also one of my fears as a lawyer myself. But there is first of all, there is a disclaimer. So like the same similar one that in the public ChatGPT, so that says that the answer was generated by AI. Please check the information. Then you have seen in the video, and I can show you again with the demo, that every time a question and answer is being generated, you have the sources. So in all of our user guide and video and information training on how to use chatbot, we always say that we explain you have to click on the sources, verify the information, because it's it's like Google, so you have to double check the information. And in practice, we didn't have issues, right? So our staff and HR colleagues, they understood that because now it's been 2 years, that generative AI is being more widely used. So our fear was kind of unfounded that in practice, colleagues who use the chatbot, they understand what is a generative AI and they are used to the concept, and they were not abusing this and challenging the decision, even with HR. So not only talking about the tribunal, but they will not go to us in HR and say, oh, the chatbot said this, like, so give me blah, 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 entitlement. No. So it was not our experience.
Very good to hear that there were no issues coming, at least not on that front. Right. Kat, I see your raised hand. I see your questions. I'll come to you in a little bit. I wanted to take a question from Tawanda first. Tawanda Matanda, I'm giving you the floor on lessons learned on the development. If you're unable to speak, Tawanda, that's also fine. In that case, I will take the question for you. So Tawanda's wondering, are there documented lessons learned on the development and testing process? Can we access the documentation if publicly, at least within the UN system, available?
So I think the lessons learned is that it's not easy to build a chatbot in general. So in the sense that we had to do really a lot of testing and do change the prompt many times. I naively thought at the beginning it's, we'll just index the document and then it will be fine. But in fact, we had to develop a very large scope of questions and perfect answers and test again and again until we were coming to the perfect results. So, and this is where I see the benefit of UNify. It's because we had 130 experts from 13 UN organizations. The scope of questions we collected and perfect answers and the amount of, the number of testers we had was really large, and this really helped us to improve the accuracy and to develop the feature of the tool. So the lessons learned will be really that, yes, the more the merrier, because it takes a lot of effort to build a solution like that with good results. So yeah, I think this is my main lessons learned from the exercise. But colleagues feel free to add more from
But no,
UNFCC or
quick moment in case anyone wants to come in. If not, then Kat, I see you have the two top-rated questions. This is Kat from DC in New York, giving you the floor now. Colleagues, we still have a lot of questions in there. If there are any that you find interesting, please feel free to like them and help us prioritize. But first, over to you, Kat.
Thank you so much, Joanna and colleagues, for the excellent presentation. I wanted to ask a few questions. Firstly, on the business side, are there any sort of efficiencies of scale to say, like, you know, the more we use this, the better rates we get? Frankly, we had this discussion with OICT, you know, a couple of years back, and they had no information on what kind of business models were being proposed behind the Azure OpenAI model. So they couldn't give us any cost estimates, but I like how you're doing this at scale, and perhaps that is how we can, again, spread the pain. Speaking of, I also had a very technical question about how did you split up the cost? Because this is very frustrating to get agencies to share costs, and the modalities don't exist, as you know. So did everybody just pay UNIC, and then UNIC kind of created a project or something? Very curious about that. Technical question on the training of the tool itself. Were you using fine tuning so that it learns as it goes along, or are you just doing this through prompt engineering? And last question about technical, which is this, I mean, essentially, would it have been easier if you just developed an FAQ document and asked the AI to just read through the FAQs that's perfectly constructed in your eyes? So, like, what's the advantage of having this more painful process versus just having a search on an FAQ? Thanks, over.
Okay, maybe I'll take the last question and then ask UNFCC to comment, and then I can add again. But why not an FAQ? Well, first of all, because I mean, if I take just the example of UNHCR, just my organization alone, so we have 20,000 staff, and our policy framework is about 2,000 pages of documents. So we have, you know, like the staff regulations and rules, and many guidelines, and many, you know, a lot of information, and the questions we get are not always the same. Like, of course, yes, there will be a range of maybe 200 questions, which we always get. But then when we look at, you know, our case management and the scenarios that we get, it's so various that it will take a lot of time to develop this FAQ. The other thing is that the benefit of the chatbot, it can answer in every language. You know, if we build an FAQ, yeah, I can build an FAQ in English. A staff member will ask the perfect question, it will answer the perfect answer in English, but then not in every language. And then every time I have a new policy, then I need to create another set of FAQ. I need to remove the previous question, add the new questions. It's more maintenance, and I felt that it's not efficient in the long term to build a solution like this. That now with the technology of generative AI, you know, it's a better solution to build a generative AI chatbot. Because yes, it can just do more than what you can do with an FAQ. And for example, also the feature of comparing policy document is not something that you can do with the FAQ. And the benchmarking is taking a lot of time from us. But with generative AI, we can just we could just build this this additional feature, which is saving a lot of time. So yeah, that's why we opted for this. But Shambhavi, you want to add also on the cost and?
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. Apologies, colleagues. I dialed in late. My camera wouldn't turn on. Sorry about that. Just to respond to your question, Kat, to your question on how did we come about with this cost sharing approach, is that because UNICC is a cost recovery organization, the way we thought through the pricing of creating shared products, or in the sense this is more of a shared AI solution across multiple partner agencies, we came up with this initial payment approach wherein the first wave of our organizations who came on board, they are essentially supporting us with the build and the run of the product, in the sense that we are focused on building and running the model like a consortium at this moment. So the consortium pays the initial cost, And this is kind of a sort of a subsidized cost model, wherein the members who come on board in the first wave will have the opportunity to bear the same amount of cost. So technically speaking, if you were to consider, we had 13 partner agencies who came on board. So the cost is shared equally across all the 13 partner agencies. This is where we are focused on bringing the economy of scale, in the sense that the pricing helps the organizations to consider to come on board on creating a solution which is customized for the context of the UN. The second part is where we are expanding. That is where we are still figuring it out. It's not easy for us to come up with a cost model that works very well. But we are figuring out how the incremental cost and also the time shifted pricing will come about for the second wave. We are working on that. We will have more lessons to share perhaps in the next iteration. The lessons that we are sharing right now with you is from the contextual experience of our first iteration. Yeah, and Shambhavi, perhaps you can cover the prompt engineering part of it.
Yeah, Kat, to answer your question, even adding to the FAQ, I think you just responded to that as well. Unless you do like extensive prompt engineering, if you change the wording of the question, the response would be different. So in an FAQ kind of situation, you have to be sure everybody knows exactly what they are asking to get an exact answer. So we did extensive prompt engineering, tested multiple times with all the questions that we had across the 13 agencies, as well as we did some fine tuning as well. We did, the classic ones which are available in the models, such as check for temperature, what should be the temperature, ensure that they are giving consistent answers, how many documents should be retrieved to get the answer, should it be 5, 10, 15? If you get too many documents, it can lead to bad outcomes. If you get too little, it may not get all the relevant documents. So we did a mix of both prompt engineering as well as fine tuning.
Very good. Thank you very much for your thoughts on that. I'm gonna go to Rachel from DOS, I believe. Rachel, the floor is yours. So you unmuted yourself, Rachel. Do you want to try speak, or should I read for you? Okay, so we can't hear you. Rachel is wondering how the inputs, and by that she means the existing policies, impacting the accuracy. Why do we see such a big difference between entities? Are some policies written, structured differently in a way that improves accuracy? And are you sending feedback back to the colleagues who are drafting the policies? So I thought that was a great question, Rachel. What do you reckon, colleagues?
Yes, great question. So yes, absolutely, and I can give you 2 examples. So just to show that I'm a bad policy drafter, because when I draft a policy, I'm using footnotes, and footnotes are not great for chatbots. So lessons learned: don't use footnotes because when you have a paragraph and then many footnotes, then it's complicated. Another lesson learned is that I can give you an example of one of our policies. We use the term staff member in many paragraphs and many pages, and at the title at the top of the page is international staff member, or 2 pages later the title is local staff member. So we have some provision for international and for local, but then in the different paragraph we use only staff members. So the chatbot is not able to understand if it's international or local. It's kind of mixing the concept, because if we were writing for a chatbot, in every paragraph we should say international staff member. Or when we use a different terminology, like for example, international staff member equals P staff and D staff equals, like we have different terminology for staff. And when we use different terminologies inside the same document, then there can be a confusion. So yes, definitely the way we write has an impact, and the way documents are structured. For example, if we have documents with lots of tables, then doesn't work very well with chatbots either. So we have had some lessons learned, yes, within the HR policy community. But of course, the challenge is that we are not writing policies for chatbot only. Our main audience is staff, and we don't want to write policies that are impossible to read by a human. And we don't want to write policy for chatbot and policy for humans, because then it becomes very complicated. So it's hard to find the right balance. But we have seen also with the different version of GPT that the understanding gets better anyway. So maybe one day, everything will be fine and we can write whatever we want. But at the moment, yes, we see the discrepancies.
Very good. Thank you so much. I have an anonymous question here, and then we'll go to Daniel from UNICEF. And the colleague here is wondering, have you thought of using the data from the chatbot to improve policies? So, for example, the data shows that a policy is weak or confusing. You get a lot of questions on it. Do you then take these insights to go back to the policy team and ask for redrafting or for clarification on the policy?
Yeah. So that's the debate between the HR policy officers and the UNICC and other colleagues, because of course our policies are perfect. I don't understand what you are saying, chatbots. What the issues about our policies? No, so yes, we have seen that sometimes there are gaps in the policies that come from, we see it from the feedback we get from colleagues. And yes, we have tried to develop additional guidelines to cover this gap or find a way to improve the policies. So yeah, it's a great tool to get feedback from colleagues on our policy framework in general and the way the documents are written.
Thank you very much. And then Daniel from UNICEF, the floor is yours.
Hi, yes, just a question about document management, and you might have alluded a little bit to this in terms of pruning or refreshing documents, but of course, when you're doing the information retrieval aspect of this, the large language model is going to want to refer to the most fresh or updated versions of the policy documents. So as in the future, new policies come in and existing policies become, let's say, obsolete or outdated, or basically not the correct state of the information, how do you ensure that there is a management of the document corpus? And I guess because this is a multi-organizational effort, does that require all the consortium of organizations to also make sure that their document databases are up to date and refreshed, and that way you're not getting maybe conflicting information when you're asking the chatbot for some specific aspect of some policies. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So in fact, it's quite simple, because each organization is responsible for their policy framework. And when a new policy is being issued, they have to delete the old version of the policy, the previous one that is obsolete. They delete it from the SharePoint site and they upload the new version. So there is no issue there. Then also UNFCCC has built something that we know we can identify duplicates. So when documents are indexed, we can see if they are duplicates, the same policy, and then we clarify, which version is the right one or stuff like that. So we have a mechanism in place in terms of indexing to make sure that this doesn't happen. But maybe Shambhavi, you can explain that as well.
No, I think completely agree with that. And also we have a feedback mechanism. So even though the documents may be different, if they have conflicting information, the chatbot will react with conflicted information. So even in our current interface, you have a feature to provide feedback as a thumbs up, thumbs down. And that is something we keep a track of. So if we get enough mistakes, like, thumbs down, so to say, then we will know something is up. So we'll go back and refer to as well in case there's something within the document as well.
And also to add on to your question, Daniel, we have also built in a testing mechanism. So every round of updates, we make sure that we are testing it with the golden set of testing questions that we have created. So it will kind of also flag us if the updated content is not flagging for the questions that we usually test them for. So the testing is also one of the important key standardization approach that we have come up with for UNify HR.
Thank you very much. I'll give the floor for the last question to Vijay from UN Women. Vijay, you had lots of questions. Please try and limit yourself maybe to the top ones as we are running out of time. That floor is yours. I'm saying that I have multiple of you. I'll give both of you the floor and maybe one of you. There we go.
Okay, yeah, there. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. And yeah, actually, we have connected with you for developing our own local bot in the past. But anyway, the question is, if the documents have tables, right? The content is structured in a tabular form. The bot sometimes it's not answering correctly. So is that something handled in your chatbot? That's one question. Yeah, I think that's good enough for now. Yeah, if you can answer anything like that. And then also I asked about voice chat functionality, if currently you have that functionality.
The chat functionality, like what do you mean?
Voice.
The voice. Yeah,
Yeah, ask the
no.
question through voice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have it for people chat, but not for UNify yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Shambhavi,
And
you
then
want to
also, how
answer?
many documents does it use to compare at one time to create a summary? Because you are actually having so many organizations, right?
Yes.
So there must be some number of documents you come up with a limit.
Okay, I will let UNSCC answer then.
So to answer the first question for tables, currently we do not have a way to do that. That is in our roadmap for next year to add that. It is also helped by the fact why we didn't prioritize it for this year is most of the policy regulation documents do not have that many tables. So we could choose to make this as like a part of the phase 2 rather than phase 1. For compare functionality, we are still in the current version, we take 10 documents each so to compare and come up with the solutions. And at one point, we compare 3 organizations.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are at time. I'm just going to go with the very last question that I've seen a lot. So can colleagues from other entities join somehow, even if their organization hasn't subscribed? Is there a test site? Is there a way for staff to access? That question has come up a lot of times. So I do want to put that to you last, and it speaks to the great work that you and the team are doing. So take it as a compliment, even if the answer might be no.
I mean, I will let UNSCC answer that one. And I wanted also to say thank you for the questions I see in the chat, like the technical suggestions on how to improve it and stuff like that. It's really nice to get this feedback from experts as well in the audience, and this is very much appreciated. So I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
And to respond to your question, I wouldn't say yes or a no, I would say not yet. In the wave 2 of UNify HR, we can consider how we can share the current chatbot for you to test.
Very good. So not yet is good. That is not a definite yes or no. Excellent. There were lots of questions that we didn't get to, colleagues. I'm very sorry. We tried to go through a lot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the link to join the GenAI practice group if you're not there already. If you join the group with a UN email address, we'll add you to our team space. And we posted earlier on a reminder about this webinar. So if you have any burning questions, I suggest maybe go to the team space, put them there again, and maybe I'll ask Shambhavi, Anusha, and Claudie to keep an eye on that and see if we can answer some of them there and keep the conversation going. And I'm going to say, first of all, thanks for everyone who joined and enriching this with your conversation. And thanks to the 3 of you. Anusha, you said all women panel today. I also enjoyed that very much. For doing some fantastic work. I have honestly never seen so many questions in a webinar before we even open up the floor. It speaks to fantastic work being done by all of you and your teams. And we hope that it will be rolled out to many more entities and maybe to other areas as well. So congratulations, all the hearts, all the applause from the colleagues. Thank you so much. And wishing you all a very good day and hope to see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thanks.